A huge shout out to the overthinkers. An overthinker. He watches the show. To the overthinkers. Shout out to all of our faith with this Parker, yeah. Thank you.
Keep inspiring the next generation.
Shout out to the overthinkers. Much love.
To my overthinkers, I'm a man of top
I'm stealing that. I'm stolen it.
I record Shorty as overthinking, say overachiever. Welcome everybody to the Overthinking Football Show. My name is Joseph Mokwena. I am your host, and this is a place, man. This is a place for us as football fans to meet and speak about this football that we love. South African football, African football. We still haven't dipped our toes. Ngale, but we'll get there. Welcome to the show, guys. Hey, bud. Okay, so Monday to Thursday, 7 p.m. the show is here. You'll be able to join me here live on YouTube and on TikTok, unless Chiefs, Pirates, Sundowns, Bafana, Bafana, if any of those teams are playing, we will be covering it live as we go along. And you know, it's a very interactive show, so you're able to jump in. And have conversations with me. Apologies, guys. Hey, what happened there? Thank you, Bongs. You're able to jump in and have conversations with me because this show is about us having conversations with each other. This is not Supersport. This is not SABC Sports. I'm not a former coach. I'm not a former player. I'm not Thomas. I'm just a guy who really loves football. And I want us to love football together, man, and speak about it and take each other's thoughts seriously because there's not a lot of places where we can do that. Okay. There's three things I want to do today. There's three topics I want to touch on. So, number one, we do know this deadline day today. I want to know from you guys, there's been moves that have been announced. How do you guys feel about the moves? How do you guys feel about how your team has conducted itself throughout this transfer window? So please, that's going to be the second topic. And then we're going to go on to a conversation we had towards the end of the show with Malume Kudzo. And we were speaking about how these PSL teams are now defaulting back to these older coaches. We are seeing Owen Dagama coming back. Mushin Etragal is holding down the fort on that side. But I wanna start there, but expand the conversation into the different classes of coaches. So to get you thinking before we get there, we have the old coaches, we have former players, and then we have some really incredible young coaches. I'm using Ukochwe with Tondol, who was the coach of Tondol all those years ago. Incredibly young coaches. Do we have an environment that can encourage all of those people to come in? But the place where I want to start, guys, is with Coach Pitso Mosimane. Breaking news, it just came out. Very quickly, I want to touch on it with you guys. Coach Pitso has left his job at Esteghlal. He's left his job at Esteghlal in the Gulf. It is in the Gulf. He says that according to them, they haven't been paid and they were on strike at some point, but now it seems that the contract has been terminated. Coach Pitso, of course, has been jumping up and down, man. Al Ahly, then he went to Al Weda, he's been jumping all over the place. What I want to speak to you guys about very quickly is your reactions on this news that he's done. That side, he's terminated the contract. But then also, what do you think of what Coach Pitso has done in his movements ever since? Do you think that it's been wise? Do you think that Ngale, it's a better opportunity? How do you guys feel about that? We're going to start there. So please feel free to request if you want to join the show live. And you're watching on YouTube and add your voice to the show, you have to follow me. You have to be following me live right now on TikTok. And then there's a button at the bottom of your screen that says multi-guest. Click on that button. I'll let you in. We have a conversation about whatever it is that we're speaking about right now. So I want to quickly touch on this before we go into the transfer stuff fully. So let me get in the first three. Let's make it the first three. We'll cap it to three and we'll have a conversation. Agent, my brother, welcome to the show. How are you?
Shalom, my good brother. How are you?
Hey, Elkheim Shalom, man.
Yeah.
Kietaba, we've spoken about this on multiple occasions here in the groups. Same place again.
Yeah. Yeah. Here we go again, eh? What does that make me say? Here we go again. Same everything, you know. But where do we start? Let me start as a football fan.
Okay.
Or maybe let me start as a Sundowns fan. Let me start as a Sundowns fan so that I can end well. Serves him right. Serves him right. He ran away with Motsepe's money, eh? And he refusing to pay. So, when you're saying wanted our money, what do we mean, eh? So, you must pay back the money. Pay back the money. But, you know, as a football fan, it is sad, but understandable. I think Coach Pitso has given up. And like I said, understandable because of age. I don't think he has ambitions anymore of being the best coach in the world, or going to Europe and proving himself there, or what. I think he's given up on that, you know. He has won everything in the African continent that there is to win. He has proven himself at Sundowns, at Ahly, Club World Cup. I don't think there's anything else that he can do now, you know. I think it's all about collecting cash now. So,
Mara, is this the right way to collect cash? Because everywhere where we've said is collecting cash, it doesn't seem like there's cash at those places.
do you know what happens in a situation like this? When I go to Royal EM right now,
Yeah,
I'm going to demand a lot of money.
yeah.
Why? Because I'm not sure if they'll pay me all the rest of the money. So I need to recuperate as much money as I can. So it works in business as well, that when you're investing in a high risk company, you want a high interest rate, you know? So I think it's that kind of situation where it's like, you know what, I'll collect money, let me go to teams that are a bit riskier, which means I'm going to charge them more. And maybe the other ones that can afford his bulky contract and technical team. So he charges them, knowing that, you know what, even if they don't pay me or they terminate my contract, I'm going to take them to CAF and I'll get my money eventually. So I think he does this intentionally. You know what, go to clubs which are unstable, get my money. If they refuse, I take them to court, I get money with interest, and move to the next one.
Mara, isn't that
So I
just
think-
bad, man, agent? Couldn't he do the same thing? Go Africa, or couldn't he take on projects? Like, you know, King, ASFAR didn't have a coach, Raja didn't have a coach, they got Tanzania, Simba didn't have a coach, you know, on and on.
If he
Young
goes to
Africans.
Simba, what if he goes to Simba, what does he want to achieve that he hasn't achieved? Yeah, he's achieved everything. So he's only chasing money, you know, shady as it is. No, it's not hindsight ASAP. If you listen to me on OT, we long wonder about his contract that this looks shady from the get go. And this is the second contract. Even when we went to first division, we talked about it. So we're not surprised with this. As I'm saying, for me, looks like it is his modus operandi that he wants to go to clubs which are high risk, demand a lot of money, and they know because they're high risk, he can demand a lot of money, and if they don't pay, he'll go to CAF. So it's like that's how he's operating.
Oh, to FIFA.
you know? Yeah, go to FIFA, and yeah, what has he achieved at Club World Cup? 2 bronzes, 1 silver, I think. Yeah. So thank you, man. For me, I just feel like it is sad, but it is understandable that at his age he chases the bag. I think Rulani was supposed to be the next big person who can have this.
Actually, can I give you a minute? Can I give you a minute?
Yeah.
We've seen Coach Pitso now jumping all over the place, and it seems like they are wrong decisions. We've seen Coach Rulani almost following similar footsteps. Instead of going to Egypt, he went to Morocco. it doesn't seem like there's a pipeline from Morocco to Europe and all of those guys. Is Coach Pitso a cautionary tale for Rulani?
I think definitely, and since that close, I'm sure Pitso will whisper to him, and say, like I said, I felt Rulani should have went to Lille. Was it Lille or Montpellier? Which wanted him in France?
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those, or even go
Currently
to a
last in
team
France right now. In Montpellier.
Yeah, they're going to first division. Go there and take them, build your profile there, because I think he has the capability too, Okay. So I think for me, winning everything in Africa, you end up at the Gulf at the very least. So yeah.
Okay. Let me bring in Koka. Koka, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good, and you, sir?
I'm good, my brother. Kietaba, man. Hey, sad news coming from Coach Pitso. Now, if we look at the track record, left Mamelodi Sundowns, did well at Ahly, promoted Ahly in Saudi Arabia, got fired when the PIF took over. El Weda gets fired after that, or there's problems. He now goes somewhere else. Now contracts are terminated. How do you feel about this news? And how do you feel about Coach Pitso's the back end of his career right now?
First before ngiyaphambili butami ngicela ukuthi lana we are looking at the best that South Africa has ever produced in terms of a black South African.
Yes, I agree.
Wow. This is the man that has opened so many doors for South Africa when it comes to football and black South Africans, coaches and players. First number one. So that you know who are you talking about. Coach Pitso, career yake being fired by Lama team Lawayan. Now, if I was him, and I'll do the exact what the guy that Ubra agent was saying. Pitso has achieved everything. Looking at things back here at home, there are certain people who are at the top, about vibing, So it's not beneficial for him with Abuela South Africa because where he needs to be Magala South Africa, respect he needs to have Magala South Africa is not gonna get. You understand? Because if we're talking football and being fair and putting politics aside, we could be taking Pitso and putting him bafana to be part of that team. Remember when we talk about development?
Yeah.
To be those kind of a person, give him that position to run ISAFA development side, ISAFA, and his philosophy and understanding of football, so that every institute like South Africa, every philosophy, creates Pitso. That would be football. That would be talking. But now it's a different story. Instead, they see him as an enemy, as an opponent, instead of seeing the wisdom the man has. So I think he's going to get a new job again.
But before you move on, I hear you that maybe he's not respected here. Mara, with all due respect, is he respected that side? Because he's taking on struggling teams. He's taking on first division teams at times. He's taking on teams that are under administration. Like, is he doing himself a favor? Is it better to be, disrespected that side than to be disrespected at home, if that makes sense?
No, that side, you must remember, Sewuti, he's not just competing with only South African coaches, but he's competing with international coaches. Yeah. Meaning that side, they are looking at his CV. His CV is great. He's got a good CV. So any team, even the team, they looked at his CV and his achievements, and they speak volumes. So that side, when you look at maybe one coach in the first division, because in the first division, I want to say the PSL of that side. In fact, that's what I'm looking for, because that side they've got money. They can buy better coaches. They come from better backgrounds. So Pitso is settling for at least what he can have. And for them that side maybe none, but for like South Africa, I remember in this other interview, that time Megala South Africa, he said, "Are you aware, Wuti, out there at the golf?" I think he was talking about at the golf or in Saudi Arabia. He said, a player here from South Africa, by the time they retire, after maybe if they could stay there for 5 years or 3 years there, they could come back with something like 400 million. Is that bad?
Well, but
take a player like him.
But when you look at what is being paid or what came out allegedly about how much is being paid, it's not that different.
I don't know the story of the contract, ne? But I heard the guy saying he charges them a little bit extra, maybe 3 times, something like that, so that when such incident happens, we have to cover it. Hence, immediately because he knows he's gonna get another contract, even if it can be short term, but as long as he's gonna make that money. He might make losses here and there, but at the end of the day, when you look at the broader scale, imali yenzile. As I was gonna give you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Koka.
Let's say Uloch.
Yeah,
Look at the player
yeah.
let's say a player is Uloch or a player is Utito.
Yeah.
Utito get that kind of offer whereby after 3-4 years or 5 years, at least in the golf, we are 400 million. What would that do for him and his family?
Mara, very quickly before I let you go, I want to respond, but okay, I want to ask you, with his CV and with everything that he's accomplished, I guess, couldn't he be doing this in Brazil? Couldn't he be doing this in the MLS? I mean, Bradley Canel, that side, couldn't he be doing this? I don't know, I'm just throwing names out. Romania, couldn't he be doing these things elsewhere? Or is it really that closed for him?
No, I don't think it's about the only thing that the guy is about in future, it's about the money and where the opportunities are. You know, I don't think you will decline opportunities from those countries as long as the money is there. I think he's gonna go for them. I think for me it's the money.
Okay.
Uyangizwa kahle?
No, ngiyakuzwa kahle mara ngathi siyaluzana a bit with the network.
Mr. OT.
You know what,
Mr.
Koka?
OT.
For time's sake, I'm gonna move on. I think we just cut. Let me bring on to Tyler. Tyler, can you hear me properly? Just to check.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, OT.
Tyler, you sound a little bit far away, but tell me, how do you feel about this conversation about the Coach Pitso?
Mr. OT, can you hear me?
No, Coach
Yo,
Pitso.
Koka,
Mr. OT.
I think there's a cut there, Koka. We'll see if there's time later on. But yeah, I think there's a cut there. Tyler?
No, I think Coach Pitso, what he wanted to do, I mean, he said it himself. He wanted to, to break the grounds for South African coaches. For them to see that it's possible, and not to be cocooned in South Africa and coach only in South Africa. There's also other opportunities.
Yeah.
So he was a pioneer of that, and he was making sure Guti he makes the bar to go higher and higher and higher, so that whoever is here in South Africa can be inspired by that, including the young coaches, and he's been doing that incredibly. I don't think it's the money thing for me. I think he's a patriotic man. Coach Pitso has helped a lot of people, in the game. So it was just to break those doors, I think so, because the guy is well off, man. I don't think he really necessarily need the money. He's also, increasing his portfolio as a coach as well. Because he complained about European countries don't want to take African countries. Maybe there will be one day a European team that will say, okay, this guy's got a pedigree and a CV that can take our team, somewhere. So he's done that.
So Tyler, can we critique the steps he's taken? So some of those steps that he's taken have wound him back in the same place. Cancelled contract with Ahly Saudi after getting them back. Problems at Al Weda. Now Istiklal, a couple of months into his contract. I'm not sure. I think it's like 6 months into his contract. Now it's terminated. Can we speak about the decisions that maybe Coach Pitso is making?
You know, when you make those decisions, it's not written that this club will have financial problems. You know, it's unforeseen events, which I think FIFA, you know, because there's so many cases that are reported to FIFA that I think they need to look into this transfer thing of, you know, players and coaches to other countries. You know, maybe a team needs to produce a bank balance or something like that, where they can verify and check, will you be able to pay this person for the duration of the contract? In a way, it secures the person you want to buy, the services that you want to buy. You look at the contract and you look at the bank balance and you check the cash flow. These people can they afford this person? Because you may want Pitso, but your bank balance says you're 20 rand, but Pitso wants 100 rand, you know, and this 20 rand can only pay administration and players, but you cannot afford the coach. So there need to be a criteria that protects, you know, I think coaches and players are registered under FIFA. So basically, these people are their clients, including the teams, by the way. So there should be a middleman because we're all under one body. So this body must protect, you know, each. So there should be a policy somewhere on the OT that protects, you know, against these things. Because now we're saying, you know, it's Pitso who's making these decisions, whereas it's not Pitso. He's not fired because of delivery. The guy is delivering. He's doing his services. He's doing his job, perfectly so, you know. So I think he must continue. He must continue breaking those doors. If it means go to Germany, go to United States, do that. Let's see a South African flag flying in those countries. Let's see a South African trade being traded in those coaching trade traded in those countries. So I don't see anything wrong with that. I just admire the guy, the incredible job he's been doing. So I disagree with the money issue. I really don't think he goes to clubs because of money and all of that. No, he's going there to show us and show the local coaches that you can fly even higher than where you are, you know, which is incredible.
Just for time's sake, because this is just an opener. Ongama, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good, OT. I'll try to be as short as much as possible about the situation of Pitso. I think for my take, the thing that has been happening in Pitso, he was an ambitious coach that wanted to break into the landscape as an African coach that wanted to see himself maybe coaching in one of the clubs in Europe, maybe Abu Sevilla, maybe somewhere there. He was an ambitious coach, wanted to break into many landscapes. But at the look of things, his pedigree from Africa has worked for him. Ever since he got in Saudi Arabia, everything has been sluggish. It has never been an easy task for him going into Saudi Arabia. There was the contract problems in the previous season. The other season, he made the team promoted. Then after promoted, they fired him. So I feel like his journey going into Europe, looking at his age, maybe it can be possible. But when I look at his stature going out of Africa, it's been not working for the past two seasons. It's been not working. So I don't know. But my take is that it's been not working for him going out of Africa. It's been not working. His pedigree has been working under Africa. And we are hoping for the best for him going in the future because he's an African coach. If he can find another job, maybe elsewhere, maybe out of Saudi Arabia, other spaces out of the world, maybe can succeed because you'll never know. Dream never die. It's just a matter of time.
So now I want to ask. I don't mind him going to different leagues, Mara. It does seem like there may be a decision-making gap here. In that, if now you've got a string of teams that have pretty much ended the same way, at what point do we question him and say, "Hey, Mara, Coach Pitso, Kare, when you're going to these clubs, we love you, we respect you." It's not to say that he's not good, guys. I know we might conflate those things. Mara, can we question him and say, Mara, Coach Pitso, why Esteglal? How are your team eng with then maybe another one that you could have taken?
I don't know when I would say it's sometimes it's problematic to think of going outside of other countries, working into other countries. They tend to struggle. It depends on into the institution that you are working for. Maybe I would make an example. Maybe in Saudi Arabia, the team that he was working for, it was not that much rich as per the team maybe that is on top positions, like the top 2, top 3 of those teams. It was never the rich. Maybe it's all about Magesi FC, teams that are just newly promoted and then they try to make themselves a name.
Yeah.
Sometimes they get to get financial problems along the way because those coaches are expensive, which is Abo Pizza. They are expensive when they're coming with their packages. So I would say it might not be his problem, but at the same time, sometimes the clubs make their own preferences when they look at their stature of what they want at that particular times. Like the team that he coached last season, he made his task to promote the team, but they seen him like he's not ready to take the team into the next level. And you know those things that are happening even in South Africa. The coaches that get fired after they newly promoted the team. Then after their new coach will take the team into the next level. So it's just a matter of consequences that are happening in the way. That's my take, coaching.
Thank you to the guys that jumped in. I'm going to give my opinion and then we'll go on. There's 2 topics I want to discuss. This one is very similar to the one I'm going to discuss in the last one. There's 3 things I want to speak about today. Do you know what this sounds like, guys? Me, as somebody who's live every day and speaks about these things, I can't be hard on South African coaches in the PSL who are signing 6-month contracts in some of the worst conditions. And I'm hard on them, but I'm not hard on Coach Pitso, who, yes, is going overseas. Mara, if every time things break down, then there's questions that we need to ask. And it's not to disrespect him, it's not to look at him a different way or whatever. For those who don't know, Coach Pitso has left his job at Esteglal because he hadn't been paid. Apparently, it's been a lot of months. They were threatening at some point to down tools, and now it's happened that the contract has been cancelled. But it's been a similar situation at Alweda. It was a similar situation to the Ahly. It was a similar situation. There's so many similar situations that he's been through right now that now I look at it and I go, oh, okay, I get it now. You are the Ilikonola Siema of the Gulf. You are the 10th Malisela of the Gulf. You go to these teams, anyway, you go to those teams and you pick the teams that you pick, and then chigi things break down. So my thing is now when I look at you and I look at your representation and I look at your decision making, I go, Mara, Coach Pitso, couldn't you do a little bit better? It's not even a situation where he's taking a top 3 team. These teams, Al-Ahly Saudi was in the first division. If you remember the conversation, I think Agent was here and a couple of people were here. We had a conversation when he signed that contract. that man, Mara Coach Pitso wa uyalena. And he said it's a project and he wants to build. But besides that, let me leave all of that stuff. My thing is now, your contracts. What do your contracts look like? So if you go to the Saudi team and they got rid of him after that, I'm like, oh, Mara, what protections did you put into your contract? Going back to the Mamelodi Sundowns case that is in court right now, what are they fighting about? Contracts. Now when he's going that side, they're threatening, they're doing all those things, things are being cancelled. And maybe this is a question we should ask. Do we have a problem of representation of decision making when it comes to our coaches? Because truth be told, Coach Pitso is one of the few who has been able to jump out and go do things. And I'm sorry to say, I'm sorry, guys, I'm sorry to say, Fadlu Davids is coaching Simba right now. The coach was the coach where TS Galaxy, Sid Ramovic, he's coaching Yanga right now. Zimbabwe left here and went to go coach Raja, unbeaten. Why is it that we're the only people? Why is it that we're the only people that struggle with these things? Look at the players. I've said this how many times, guys? How many times have I said, oh yeah, a coach of Botswana? How many times have I said this here? That, whenever there's a case in court that is being won, it's a foreign player. Why? They know their rights. Their agents know their rights. Their representatives know their rights and all of that stuff. And I'm not even speaking about Coach Pitso. I don't even want to take it there. His representation. But I'm saying that Ikariman as South Africans, hey, we struggle, can't contract. How many people have been screwed over in the league that we find out later? So if Coach Pitso, as the stature of coach that we believe him to be, that his CV says, has to go and coach these teams that side and we clap hands. Guys. And maybe is it an inferiority? Is it something we don't see? And I love Coach Pitso. But how come? Mokwena. Elias Mokwena was struggling with the contract right now. Yes, Tunis. We say money. Money. Is that even real? Is that even real? Is that even a thing that we can say? Then we find out that his agent was like, oh, his agent Khanye Samayo said that no, the monies were similar. The transfer monies were similar. So is it worth it to go and beg that side? Or at the very least, can you direct your begging and go to places that are going to actually pay you, actually have the structure? Can you tie them down properly? And I'm sorry, it's not to bring down Coach Pitso. It's not to bring down Coach Pitso. I'm sorry. Mara, Malume Kutso, to what you're saying here, if you have a string of bad contracts, I can only look at the team for so long. Let's be honest, I can only look at the teams for so long. If agent yako yaktata or your manager or wena uyastata, you go to these places. What do we say about the players here in the league? So we must keep that energy. And it's not just him. There's a lot of problems. Over and above the conversation we actually had, when he announced the first time that he was doing this. Remember we had the conversation about Rulani. And we're like, Rulani, please watch what's happening. But anyway, if we have time, there's two other things that I want to get to. And the one is very similar to what we've spoken about here. On a lighter note, transfer window is closing tonight. And I thought it nice for us to have a section where, just tell me how you feel about, your team's transfers. Just tell me how you feel about your team's transfers. Tell me how you feel about how they're moving and what they're doing. And are you happy or not happy with the transfer window? While I let people in, Let me see who was here. With all due respect, do you guys think you could have negotiated better than Pitso if you were in his shoes? I'm not in his shoes, Shambe. But now we're feeling for him because we're going, but yo, this is our shining star. You know, equated to a player. It will be like a player. It will be like, do you guys want me? Okay, let's vote in the comments. Do you guys want me to extend this topic? Because I see people wanting to jump in. Do you guys want me to extend this topic? Just let me know there in the comments. Then I'll push one of them to tomorrow. Hey, extend. Okay. But then, okay. We'll have to be quick then. Yeah, actually, you must come to the group, but I'm going to allow it up until 8 o'clock. But please, when you come in, please be quick with the points that you're making. And then we'll go from there because I'm not going to, okay, I may change the order, but let's see. Benny Siso, welcome to the show. How are you, Benny?
Good, Mr. Oti, how are you?
I'm going to go back because Kariachi Satabayena. Benny. How do you feel about this conversation, Coach Pitso?
Thank you very much, Mr. Oti, and the members that spoke before me. And yeah, I feel like it's ambition versus objectives.
Okay.
We all know how ambitious is. I call him the doctor because I respect him so high. I really rank him very high. When he left at Sundowns, he had just signed a contract with Mamelodi Sundowns, but because of his ambitions and the fact that he really wanted to push the bar very high. And to be honest, that first project, I feel like he really did or performed his feasibility study about that project because he was able to promote that team. After they gained promotion, that's where the disrespect I felt came from. Because they didn't even allow him 5 games, even a single game in the top flight football. When he arrived in the second division, I think they were 8 point, or they were 12 in the position, in the low standing. Then the second project, I really feel like in that second project, it's like we need the administration of football, especially with South Arabian clubs and the Gulf region, to be really, if they don't put them under administration, then they need to strengthen their regulations there. It's not only the coaches who will leave that region without being compensated or being remunerated for their hard work. Also, the players suffer the same fate if you go that side. Then when we come to his decision making, as you are asking, whether is his decision making, does he really perform his feasibility study with the project that he then take when he goes to the Gulf region? I feel at the end of the day, if you are invited to bid, you also look at the specification and say, okay, this is the specification. You also try to look at their budget, their track record. That's where I'm struggling. I'm in the line with you. I'm also trying to understand his decision making, whether does he really go to the point to dig deep with their track record when it comes to paying and their budget. How big is their budget? Because now, as I say, it is objective versus your, what's the term? Sorry, your ambition. Yes, thank you. Your ambitions. If you can't balance the two, you are really in a thin line to fail. What do I mean? If you are in an organization now, you are working with your superiors and you are very talented and you are clever, you know that you are clever. You don't have to outshine that light because you might jeopardize your chances of promotion. They will feel intimidated. So I'm not sure whether, because the track record of Coach Pitso and his pedigree speaks volume about him, his work ethics. Also, that's where I wanted to go with. isn't that maybe his work ethics versus the players that side and versus the directors of the club? Because we are from different ethics. He is a hard worker. If you know, they will tell you, Tiana Mabunda will tell you, the guy can call you at 3 a.m. to tell you to analyze a certain position. So his ambitions to
can I play devil's advocate just for a minute, just so that for time?
Yes, please.
Is it maybe that he's not as good as we think he is? Or maybe the CAF licenses are not as strong as maybe they should be. Or maybe the CAF Champions Leagues to the world doesn't really matter. And maybe his hands are tied and he's forced to take these jobs. How do you feel about that?
I wouldn't then question his credentials to that much. And also his work ethics, I could not question it. But I feel like there's a thin line between the disrespect and the color of the skin. I'm sorry to bring that in, but we might have to look at it. Because if you look at the way he has performed, the pedigree that he has, he deserved that respect. Look at what he did in Al-Ahly. Al-Ahly, it was very tough. The legends, week in, week out, they had something negative to say about winning or not winning, but they had something to say about it because of his background. He's from South Africa. He's an African. So it's really hard to critique his credentials and his work ethics. But I think it's all about, it will also boils down to the fact that he's an African.
For time's sake, let me jump in and let ASAP Shembe come in. Shembe?
Hey, Habibi.
Oh, Habibi, ale patale, Habibi, ale patale.
So patala kanjani, Habibi? Bashisela isitoko lapha elokishini, Habibi. So patala kanjani, Habibi? Amashophu ethu niwashisa lapha ekasini, Habibi. Stoko for stoko, Mr. Otsi, stoko for stoko. Mr. Otsi, I think this is a very interesting topic, Mr. Otsi, and I really am fascinated by these conversations of leverage, where it's talent versus money, and how much leverage does talent have over the person who's bringing the money. I love these conversations with my heart, Mr. Otsi. And I will say that there's a lot of unfairness in some of the people, and even from some of your comments, Mr. Otsi. You know, I've heard people say, before I if I'm a deep dive, I dig into company history, when I lost Unilever. Did you ever do that, when? Did you ever go into the company's history? What leverage do you have to come to a company and say, show me your documents of how well you guys pay your employees? What leverage do you guys have? None. Mr. Otsi, Pitso has accomplished everything on the African continent. He's hit a ceiling. There's nothing more to accomplish in this continent besides maybe with the national team. But we already know the politics of that, right? So I think that Pitso has now put himself into the place in his life where, you know, as you get older as a man, Mr. Otsi, you also get into a place where you realize that your purpose in life is purpose of servitude, right? And that also goes hand in hand into leaving a legacy behind, Mr. Otsi, right? And Pitso has sort of gone down the route that says, Guti, I am going to be the guy that's going to go over the hill for you Africans, not South Africans. Pitso's mission is bigger than a South African mission. I'm going to be the guy who's going to go over the hill for you Africans, né? And I'm going to go take the shots on my back. I'm going to go be the one that's going to go 1-20 kada. And then I'm going to go take those shots behind my back, and then I'm going to come back and tell you guys how this thing is done and how that system maneuvers. Because when you move into a place, when you move into a new territory, Mr. Otsi, you have to first get accustomed to the cultures of how that place is done, right? And what Pitso has done throughout his travels in Arabic has exposed how these people do business. Right? And for me, he has shown the hypocrisy of how they view Africans, Mr. Otsi. Right? So, to show Otsi, first of all, Africa is not that far different than any of you guys, Mr. Otsi. Mr. Oti. So I think that lento le eyenza uPitso, Mr. Oti, is ukuthi I'm going to be the sacrifice for all of you guys. There's no Rulani without a Pitso, Mr. Oti, first of all. So Pitso breaking down those walls and going to Ahly allows a Rulani to go to a Wydad, Mr. Oti, right? So we know with Pitso, there was no way he could go to a respectable European league, Mr. Oti. We know that because we already know how these people view Africans. There was even a episode here, a 3-man press, where you guys, if I'm not mistaken, were talking about in Europe they don't like African 10s because they think Africans don't think. And then you guys broke it down to the social economic conditions, right? And all of that. And it's the same thing with coaches, Mr. Oti. It's the same thing, Mr. Oti, with what's happening with Pitso.
But can I ask you?
Sure,
I just want to touch on a couple of things. The leverage you speak of, is it a set leverage or is it a perception? Because even in that conversation of the 10s, I was like, I think the biggest difference between how Foden is viewed and how Ito is viewed is that it's called showboating at home.
Yeah.
That side, it's called press resistance.
Yeah.
So how much do those things play into a leverage? And do you think that as Africans, I'm going to say the whole continent, well, most of the continent, have we learned about how to leverage, how to work the levers for a coach who's won the champion? He's won three Champions Leagues. He was at some point a top 10 coach on the rankings. He's gone to the Club World Cups and stuff like that. Surely you should be able, and I don't know if it's the machine behind him or whatever, surely you should be able to package that in a way. That's the first one. And then number two, doesn't this diminish his leverage? So if he keeps jumping from club to club, does it serve him and does it serve the people who are following him? Because if Pitso goes, and you see, the nice thing about going to Egypt, Pitso was the guy. He was the shining diamond. He was winning the Champions Leagues. He's pretty much left on his own accord type of thing. Like he left. So that makes it look like, okay, I can bring a Rulani in. Mara, if Ngale, you keep taking those small coaches, at what point do you become Sam Allardyce? And how does that hurt everybody following you?
Okay, so maybe let me tackle leyo gcino ongibuze yona yabantu abazolandela uPitso ne. I think more than anything, what Pitso has shown us is that he can deliver regardless of the conditions.
Okay.
And I think one of the most, and maybe this also ties back into layer packaging. One of the most important things, Mr. Oti, is perception. Right. So him being vocal and loud about this also raises alarm bells for those who come after him to say, oh, so we know what the standard is. So we know Miss figured out what to ask for. We know what to look out for. We know what red flags to avoid, Mr. Oti. Like I'm saying, the thing that I'll constantly go back to is when you are the leader of the pack, sitting in comfort and saying, I've achieved it all, does nothing for no one, even for you. It does not. You need to constantly push the barriers. You need to constantly push the envelope, Mr. Oti. And pushing that envelope comes with growing pains of learning, Mr. Oti. Gimu Pitso, I put him in that same bracket of the crazy geniuses. Abo Steve Jobs, Abo Kanye West, Abo Vince McMahon. And just please, if you ever get a chance, watch the Vince McMahon documentary on Netflix to see how that guy's understanding of human psychology is and how he had to break down certain barriers just to change perception. And this is what Pitso is doing, Mr. Oti. He needs to get into these spaces and break the perception, Mr. Oti. Because what he's showing now is you guys are not that better than us, actually.
Yeah.
We might actually be better than you guys. So, ufigara, it's the agent of chaos, Mr. Oti. But you need to figure that and shake up. You need to shake up the room, Mr. Oti. You need to shake up
it
the
up
room.
at a different team, in a different structure.
In what way?
I don't
Mr.
know. I'm
Oti?
just asking. So
In
I'm
what way? Please
asking
elaborate.
if you've had five teams, you've had contract problems with all 5 teams, right? I see it as a pattern now. But then I also say that I understand that you want to go break boundaries, which is great. Are there other teams you can break boundaries with that are maybe at a better standing? Like this one that he was with right now, we're going through administration. They were changing administrations when he signed. So surely some alarm bells should have already gone off to say, Same with Al Ahly.
Mr. Otsi, I don't think
I
don't think these questions that we are asking, these back and forth that we're having with each other, Pitso did not have with his wife, Mr. Otsi. I don't think that. I really do not think that, Mr. Otsi. I refuse to believe that he goes into these. Us is naive, and I don't believe a man who's achieved so much could be that naive, Mr. Otsi.
It's a pattern now.
Sure, and it could be something that he's willingly going into, Mr. Otsi. Because I mean, look how much responsibility you've placed on Pitso versus you saying, Hyman, but then why is FIFA allowing all these different leagues to exist in the manner that they're existing? Why has that not been the points of view that we're having? Why are we not then holding FIFA to a higher pedestal to say, Hyman, but you guys talk such a big game, but under your governance, there are leagues that are being run like this. These are not even impoverished leagues. These are leagues where the countries have a lot of money, Mr. Otsi. So why is the responsibility being placed so much on Pitso as to the system? One man against a system.
It's not a system. It's a team.
What do you mean it's not a system?
It's a single team that he went to. Royal AM is not the flagship team of the league in terms of running.
But the team doesn't exist without the system.
No, but I'm saying, I understand you on that point, but I'm saying if you go to Royal AM, you also need to know. You get what I mean? You have to do your work. Same thing we say about the leagues that side. If you want to go buy Chelsea is not waiting. The FA is not waiting for FIFA. The club's not waiting for FIFA. They're putting you through the rounds.
Mr. Otsi, Royal AM doesn't exist in a bubble, Mr. Otsi. Royal AM can only function as much as it's allowed to. You know what I'm saying? Like, Royal AM can only get away with so much as it's been allowed to. Mamkiza can only get away with as much as she's being allowed to get away with.
I get you. I understand what you're saying, and I agree. Mara, also, now when you have a choice of thousands of clubs, and you've now chosen the 5 where this is happening, you have to bear some responsibility as well.
Sure. I get komsulwa naye.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I get komsulwa, Mr. Otsi. And I don't want to take too much time because ngiyabona Montana bayakhala la. But I will say ukuthi what he's doing, Mr. Otsi, is laying. It's like double up, Mr. Otsi. Men hambe hlathini ndlula kaningi. Eventually she track lento lokuthi bafethu khanjwa kanje la mentabla apha kulo muzi lo, Mr. Otsi. And I think that's what he's doing, Mr. Otsi. I don't want to take too much time, but this is an interesting topic.
For time, I'm gonna let in the last two. Madam Kuto.
Ota Montana. How are you, Mr. Otsi?
Amangimnandi man Malume Kuto kietaba man.
Oh, Ntate Otsi, sorry.
Yabona ke. Just because I call you Malume now and yesterday lugele.
Thatungela wathi Ntate Otsi ngada liyahlala leli. Mr. Otsi, I had an example.
Okay.
What touched me is when you said it seems like Tina Sishawama contract. And I think Kuma somehow also corner, but he has a specific target,
Yeah.
He's
not all of them are like that.
He's relying on gender even. I'm like, oh my God. I understand. I sometimes hear people say, apartheid was better. Look at the potholes. You're like, bruh, during apartheid, you never even had a road. Now you complain that you have a pothole. Therefore, not having is better than having. You understand? Which Unurkovic, is he not white?
Yeah.
Did he not sign for Royal AM? Is he not still waiting for a payout?
But he's got yeah.
I mean, who's club evaluate? No,
yeah.
But sit up my value when I hear we know 15 million.
Yeah.
You understand? Ngamani sarisithatha imali yayo and basaposta labantu bakamamkhize on social media. Sebabona, basaposta basayidla le mali. Kunokuthi babhadala Nurkovic and he's white. So I don't want to. What touched me is when we labeled Africans as ignorant somehow, whether intentionally or unintentionally.
I
It's
think
somehow passed as if we're saying. But now, I
no,
get it.
In that
Maybe
example, just quick. In that example, I was just saying that at least Nurkovic got there. You get what I mean? At least Nurkovic has a judgment. And then you hear a lot of the former players and those guys going, hey, Yazi, it's him against us. Hey, you know, when you watch Prasten's old shows, and you're like, no, that's what I'm saying. No, the point I was getting to was that Nurkovic, because they understood, for example, there's also that layer of, as an international player, you can go straight to FIFA, for example. And then here you have to go through the disciplinary. But there was a day when Iloya Roele M Neloya Ganekovic were on a phone call ko Andy. And I was like, wow, you're gonna get washed here. And in my head, I'm thinking there's probably so many places where you could have washed people. Nati in life,
Yeah,
you know,
no, I
about
remember when
HR.
you relied on labor
But anyway,
relations. I remember when that Atene relied on labor relations, whereas there's a more suitable law for our player. But let's not get into it. Now, what I'm saying is we have a character here who we are my team in the form of Pitso Mosimane. It's Sundowns Samise court. If we need to show you which naye uyahlupa njengoba ukhuma bamthula kanje ayithatha imali nayo yakwazi ukudlala igame. Now, Mr. OT, let's say you are given the chance to negotiate the best contract in the world. Uthi ufuna 5 million batasa kunika uthi 5 million per day. Uthi ufuna angazi tafule linjani ufuna mesikhuluma la emuva kuvela ama graphic site uyayithola yonke into wena nje. You just give us a 30 minutes advert and then everything is yours. After giving them that 30-minute advert and they say to you, no, asnayo. So where go? Did you can we say you negotiated a bad contract?
no. But okay, no, carry on. I'll answer you.
Negotiate the best contract that you can think of. And I just don't abide by a performance that it's due from me. Can we say you've negotiated a bad contract?
Here's what agent is saying. There were red flags. So
no,
I'm saying if
happens
that
with so many.
Yeah.
No. I understand. I'm not even saying be extravagant about it. You negotiate the best contract.
No, Malume Kuto, you are talking about the contract. I'm saying that the company calls me. Like there's companies that call me and they say, hey, we want to advertise, let's say, right? The first thing I do is I go, no, guys, let's set a date and whatever. Then I start looking at what's happening. Sorry, my TikTok is just doing something here. Then I start looking at what's happening around the company. Oh, I won't be able to do that. If this happens, then that.
No, Mr.
Currently, wait. Currently, they're going through something.
You are missing it. The agent is missing it.
I'm
sorry to do this to you.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No, but get where I am. If Mam Kiza comes and offers me a contract right now, the context around her offering me the deal, it could be the best contract in the world. But I'm also looking at it like, And then if I add on top of that now I've gone through 5 Mamkizes myself, should I not at some point look at myself and go, Marakare Linna, there's something wrong because I keep getting screwed over, or whatever, or the contracts end that way, or whatever.
No,
you get me.
Mr. Uti, a string of events can happen to you and zinga be related to you.
But there must be self-reflection, Malume Kuzo. When you sign for
Mr. Uti, Eve, understand me. Susale 5 million. Negotiate the best contract under the circumstances. Let's say they give you what's reasonable to them, what's reasonable to you, what's reasonable to the situation. We are born about okay, OT. And please don't dwell too much on the semantics. But okay, club is going under administration, but we've got someone who's going to take over. This person, business ki proposal high. We're just waiting for approval from the league. We're just waiting for in. When you check out this person, I have a call him. I'm taking over. Vele, this is how I run my things. We born Mr. Oti, Yonkinto is proper. And then you sign, and then they just don't stick to the end of the bargain. Are you the bad one? For example, Lava Saudi.
Yeah.
Lava Saudi. That's very different, Mr. OT.
No,
that is
that's
very different.
the context.
First division.
Yeah.
Yeah, Figi club there was no intention to buy the club to take over.
There actually was. That's what I'm saying, Ore. There actually was. So Al Ahly was one of the 4 biggest teams. When we had the conversation, when he signed, before anything, I said, Al Ahly is one of the 4 biggest teams. It went down. They're trying to bring it back as quickly as possible so that the PIF can sign that, can buy the team because they own the top 4. Then when they do that, they're going to bring in a foreign coach because at that time, Abo Cherat and Abos Banban were coming in. So Al Ahly wasn't going to keep Pitso. That was from the day that he said he was going to Al Ahly Saudi. That was my thing. I said, he's not going to last there. So there's context to everything.
And with all of that, which I disagree with all of the people putting a contingency in his contract to say, if I give you promotion, I better be your coach next season. So it means, like ASAP Champions said, he looked at everything and he was like, okay, let me put this in my contract.
But what happened? I see the contract. I'm saying that now on your career, now you've got 5 of these things. Now, what is the perception of you now? That's what I think my worry for Coach Pitso was that, fine, you're doing all of this stuff and you've got contingencies and the contracts are great and you're going to get your monies and whatever. Mara, if you remember the conversation, if you keep getting called out by these teams, there's going to come a point where you're going to keep getting called by these guys. And then it's going to mess with your perception and your ability to go forward. And maybe he doesn't want to go forward, but we can't not lose, but we can't have Coach Pitso almost in the wilderness with the few coaches that we have at his level. Only 2 CAF Pro license. Is it only 2? Or maybe they've had more now, but at the time there was only 2 CAF Pro license holders. You know, one was coaching the Moroccan national team. Or 3. Ne?
Let's say, which team do you think he should go to? Let's say he goes to Real Madrid. And Real Madrid, after a month, they decide, no, we want someone Hollywood, which Real Madrid has done, by the way.
I would still say the same thing.
They've done it to Abo Robinho, but Bafana Cristiano Ronaldo. They've done it to so many people where they just want a Hollywood name. They've done it to Di Maria.
I would still say don't go because you know that's what's going to happen. Don't go to Real Madrid. Go to Valencia, is what I'm saying. How? Sorry to those watching on YouTube. Something happened on TikTok here. Something happened on TikTok. Okay, anyway, for those watching on YouTube, I'm just getting the TikTok back on track. I think for me, I guess that's the angle I was coming at this from. To say that I don't want to blame the team. I don't want to blame the league. I don't want to blame Coach Pitso. But when something becomes a pattern, you know, at some point, and what type of damage does that do to your reputation, to your future earnings, to your future whatever? I don't know what happened, Shembe, but I'm back. At least whatever happened, I didn't get banned. Hey, I can see me, Malume Kutso. I can see me. I'm as shocked as you. But okay, Ikari, I guess we have to move on, but I'll bring you in. Kumo, hey, we'll have to continue this in the group. I'm looking at the time. let me see. Hey guys, hey, I don't know, guys. I don't know. Now I'm shocked. I don't know what happened, but at least I'm not banned. Hey.
Yang sabotage, yeah,
Ke maketse, malume Khutso, ke maketse le nna. I'm still running on YouTube.
Now Sailukorile.
Oh, did he score?
Supersport. Yeah, he just scored.
So let me do this, Malume Khutso. I think I'm gonna let you wrap up the point, and then we'll move on.
Okay, so just to wrap it up, Mr. Uti, just to wrap it up, I was just saying. Oh, okay. I was just saying, Mr. Uti, sometimes a string of bad things can happen. We need not credit certain aspects that somehow they are correlated. They are correlated somehow. You understand? Like I'm citing here. Gareth Bale moved to Real Madrid. To replace, I think was it Di Maria, because Real Madrid always go for the Hollywood signing, which is why they persisted Mbappe. Cristiano Ronaldo, when he moved, this was a great signing, by the way, but when he moved to Real Madrid, there was Robinho at the time who was doing extremely well. He was very young. But Real Madrid opted to go for the Hollywood signing. It's not only about what happens on the field. And I feel like Coach Pitso has gone through what some of these people at Real Madrid went through. Now, what I'm asking you is, do you think there is a way of preventing that and still going to the best team in the world that you still join?
I don't want... You know, okay, let me tell you this, Malume Khutso.
You still have a vertical trajectory.
I hear you, Malume Khutso, but what I'm saying is two things. I want to join Real Madrid. Nah, let's say Real Madrid calls me tomorrow. As Tepo, I would love to go to Real Madrid, nah, if I was a real coach. But I also know that at Real Madrid, because no one knows me, I'll be back. So for me, sometimes you have to let go of those things and go, you know what, man, I know what's going to happen. Cristiano Ronaldo goes back to Manchester United. We all knew it was going to happen. All of us knew. It happened. So then I look at Cristiano and I'm like, hey, dog, you almost, or not wasted, but you were there for a year. You're unhappy or what. Was it worth you making that move when you could have maybe gone somewhere else? And that's my thing here, that some of the signs, you know, some of the things I understand. If ESPN calls me tomorrow, I must understand that when I go to ESPN, if I don't absolutely knock it out of the park, competing with Stephen A. Smith, who's been there for 30 years, I'm going to be gone in 2 months. So maybe I parlay that into Supersport or Fox or whatever. You get what I mean? Because it's not the only, I think in Coach Pitso's situation, it's not the only team. So I get worried when Coach Pitso, who has options, whether we feel they're great or not great or whatever, is consistently picking this option. Because maybe he could get the same thing, the breaking of the barriers, I don't know, everything that people have been saying now, from number 7. Or maybe use that. Sometimes they do that. Oh, Arsenal is bidding for my player. I call up Manchester United and I go, hey guys. So I also want to, and I'm not saying it's completely on him, but I'm just saying that, man, sometimes, man, we lack that thing and we're letting him off. And I love Coach Pitso, but we also need to question and say, Mara, coach, happy.
Yeah.
For 6 months, 8 months.
I'm just saying, Yabonga, Mr. Uti.
Okay.
But he also has Ipodia Sundowns. He also dealt with Sundowns. And
No,
I think
100%. 100%.
No, this is just in passing. And just for confirmation's sake, Mr. Oti, would you pass up that ESPN contract for SuperSport? Honestly, right now,
Depending on the context.
Okay,
Depending on the context.
I've got context for ESPN, so tread carefully. Would you?
No. I'm saying it depends on the context. What are they offering me? What are they bringing me? What does my growth plan look like? Do I have to move? My family coming along? Is this? Is that? Is that? There's lots of questions I ask, and if I go, I know that if I'm back here in a month, it's me. You get what I mean?
Hopefully
if I'm back here in a month, it's me.
Hopefully it happens. Mara sebaya khala lapho because into Pitso what. Thank you, Mr. OT.
Let me go to Kumo. Kumo.
Hey OT, how you doing?
I'm good, Mara Kumo. You sound far away, man.
Aish, why is man S25?
Le reka di S25 a le tsebo gore le presse kae. No, go botsa ka taba ya Pitso, man. How do you feel about this whole situation?
Mara honestly brawaga ne. Wena o ga ja tšheleta Motsepe e rapelang ke le khanyane ka sebele after life ya ho ya nna shap. A o kgonagale wa ntlhaloganya. No, ma and dimane over and over khalare bontsho re yena a contract ya modrula. Wa hopola sola confess one of these TV shows a bolela a re hey ne ke signa contract go parking lot ka mtlasa ntwena koloi butuni. After expecta a tsaya mosadi ya hae a tsaya connections
ewa ke keneo the agent di ngata di agent tse nang di dintho
wa ira o itse mang ko Europe a re ne
ya le ba bang ba itse mang just menu tse ba mang kwa
awa just mane ke tinyana o khona tshosetsanyana a re hey Belgium ma ira itse motho wa ntlalwane. And the other thing, is this thing, ne? I wonder, as much as we love to put Ahly as the pinnacle also of African football, let's be honest, let's be honest. Most people, when they watch CAF games, are impressed. Like, you've seen how Ahly wins these games. No, because of like now we are so indoctrinated into thinking Ahly is the best. Mara, you've seen how they've been winning.
Yeah.
Actually wins Mara go Europe. That is why what's a company over Pitso. That could be the other reason why. Honestly, OT, for someone of Pitso's caliber, I can't lie, I can't pretend. I'm not sad. Bamulaile. Yo, Bamulaile Dimane, Bamulaile. Otamile hape, Agisipeta Motsepe. Best friend ta Infantino. So la karo ya ku putsweno ku FIFA kisa ya ba ko drega. You get my point? And Pitso, as a South African, as a black person, I get now using the race card. He's supposed to be there, guys. He's supposed to be there because on paper, he makes so much sense. Hence why it's not only because of he takes whatever jobs they give him. If he had a proper manager, preferably one Ali internationally based, he would have gotten far. And the contract.
That's better.
Because it won't fit right to
So Kumo, what are you coming along right? Do we have a general problem with management in South Africa? With all of the things we hear, with all of the coaches' contracts we hear, 6 months contract, you have to win 4 of the next 5 games. Do we have a general problem with management, players, coaches, all of that stuff? Mokomzant.
No, we don't have a problem with management. I can see why you think we do. But also, you have to understand the whole clubs, we're struggling financially. Secondly, depending on whatever club you manage or you work under, the fans are always going to be on your case. So the management has to do a balancing act. And they have to make sure financially, results, and the overall running of a club has to be perfectly balanced. So when, as a person, you know who I'm going to a certain type of club. When I say yes to this contract, that is why before you sign on the contract, you have to negotiate. understand some people do not have caliber, but here we're not talking about then Malesela. Yo, my legend from Mawapan, Askisi, one to use him. I'm really looking at Afazwane. Pitso is a guy who literally should be able to actually pick and choose. People should come to him in a panel. We want you to come and coach our club, and this is what we envision for our club. And we think that you're the perfect guy who can execute our vision. That's how it's supposed to be. So right now he's going for these scraps. But then again, like this guy, now obviously you know how much I love controversial figures. I love arrogant men because it's me. But the way, or maybe it's because of like this time it's closer to home, but the way he bent his bridges, and remember, it's one thing to swear at Kaizer or even Mam Kiso, for example. Mara, you swearing at Motsepe, CAF president, yeah, Bestia Infantino. Obviously, you're gonna get blackballed.
Allegedly. The thoughts and views expressed by the panelists or the commenters on this show are not those of Overthinking Football or its host, George Mokwena. Please. It's a killer sharp. It's you. It's on you now. It's on you.
Okay, I read that. Like you once mentioned, Hore, when you go to a job, like you don't vet one talohan. You don't vet Hore the employer. I do. I vet. And kasi, like for example, ba police Ashifa so he made the popular choice. Arengasi go naturena get lawyer go Orlando. That is company.
Yo. STKS 25 into help. Very quickly, Kubo, very quickly. We need to move on.
Yeah. I want to get fed. Okay. Karma.
Okay. No, for time, I'm gonna jump in. Guys, okay. I think I'm gonna leave the transfers to tomorrow. Let's have a conversation then about something that Malume Kutso actually brought. Up yesterday when he was speaking about how some of the coaches are going back to. Some of the teams are going back to older coaches, Bo Ndakama, Bo Mushin Ertragal, who are coming back into the league. So we're going to start off with the superficial chat of, are these guys good enough to be back in? And then I want to have the conversation of who goes in, like who, do we have a culture in the PSL where certain coaches get certain privileges, whether you are an old coach, a former player, a non-player, international coach, are there different things, and how does that harm the coaching side of the PSL? If for example, there's a rumor that came out today that Amazulu is already looking for a new coach. They're looking to replace Coach Vilakazi and Coach Atazwani, allegedly, right? There's a rumor. So then now, when we have these conversations, and I literally say, what are you going to do signing a contract until the end of the year? You remember the conversation we had about Coach Vusmuzi Vilakazi and Coach Atazwani? We had the conversation, Guti, okay, you're not going to be trusted with signings. You're not going to be given time. You're not going to do, and if the club wants to move off of you, your contract is ending at the end of the season. So then what does that do to your coaching and what you can bring to the club? Does it harm the clubs? And then you have the coaches that are outside of all of this thing that don't even get a look. Malume Kutso mentioned the Tondol guy. Looks like a bright young coach. What happens now? Is he going to come back in? Will he ever get a chance? How will he get a chance? Will he need to be under somebody, or must Pitso pull him up like he did with Rulani? How do these things work? No, Rulani, well, he's connected inside. But anyway, so this is what I want to speak to you guys about. I'm going to open it up. Malumekut, at some point, I'm going to need you to come in because this was actually a topic that you had brought up. Guys, Le mametse ake kupa di like, kupa di gift, or kupa something. Guys. Chero, welcome to the show. How are you?
Kanjani?
Man ngimnandi man Chero.
Hayi ngiyaphila bro.
Na indaba Chero. Now we were speaking about Coach Pitso. Now about Coach Abanye. What do you feel about the coaching in the PSL?
Yeah.
Figure about old croc.
I'm old croc.
Old croc. Hey guys, please mute.
Think when
old croc.
Hey guys, please mute. When
Wait, who's that? Kimpo. Hey.
Okay, I think he's muted. I think sometimes it's when I OT. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I think sometimes we as fans or football lovers, we think these owners of these teams, they think that far. These guys don't think that far. These are all crocs or what. These guys, you must remember one thing. These are business people in football.
Okay.
They are not football.
Yeah. Oh, guys, we speak about Pitso and people are mentioned, and all of a sudden it's slow. Wait, guys. Can you hear me, guys? Can people hear me?
Now I can hear you.
This is why I don't. What are these chats? I'm starting to think maybe I should just make it simple. But hey, yeah, that man is trash or whatever. Okay, go on.
If phone got Kumo, it's this brand new phone from Kumo. It's disturbing us. Anyways, what I'm saying is, if we look at our owners of all this team, about Chipamping, see about this guy from Amazulu,
Babzungu.
Who's this guy? Babzungu, even now Motsepe. These are not football people. These are business people. So they're dealing with the bottom line, man. At the end of the day, if you're not providing me with my services or my wins, you're fired. So I guess the advice about totally good about machine now about Owen by the experience, and I'm quite sure they're cheaper now at their age, and because most of them were in the NFT. So I don't think they think that far. They don't think in terms of 5 years, 3 years. They just want to survive, because if you look all of these teams from the way I look at our league, from a position 7 going downwards, all those teams are candidates of being relegated at one stage or another, maybe 2 seasons ago, a season ago. All of those teams, Amakoran Arrows, Amazulu, or TX Galaxy, all of them, they can be relegated at any time. Or Marumo, all of them. So these are not stable teams. Cheaper. These are not stable teams. They can have a good run of 4 or 5 games, and then they can stop winning for the rest of the season. So maybe this question should be asked. Go my teams maybe out top 5, maybe Cape Town City, Sundowns, Pirates. Now I can include the Stellenbosch, the Kaizer Chiefs. But the rest, these owners, we're giving them too much credit.
Can I ask, just as the final point here, can I ask you, what do you think about the coaching pathway? Because, I mean, it feels like Betway Prem, it's a closed it's a closed environment. You know, if you promote a team from the first division, you're likely going to be fired. If you're not a former player, you're probably not going to get a job. If you're not a coach that has been in the job for a very long time, you're probably not going to get a job. We're recycling the same guys. How do you feel about this, man? The pathway of coach in SA?
I think it goes with the structures of these teams. What type of football do we want to play? What type of players are we recruiting? the vision of the team. All of it's not just the coach; it's the whole system. If you've looked at the Sundowns has created a template per se in South African football. I know now they've got to cut those, but for the past since Pitso came, you've seen Uguti. There's been a succession plan all the time. All the time there's been a succession plan. Pirates football wise, every time they recruit a coach, but they never lose their way of playing. You see, so they've got a plan per se, but there's only 2 or 3 teams. You understand? So now our football right now, a lot of people are saying our football is in a good space. Abangaphandle, like continental, like Morocco, Egypt, they're thinking, imagine if we can have 10 teams which have got isn't Ozabo in order. We can go far. So right now, no, man. We're giving these owners too much credit. They're just trying to survive relegation.
Okay. For time, okay, guys, look. Hey, I saw a cake. You guys don't understand. When I saw trains that day, it was very nice after. It was very nice after. Thank you guys so much for the cakes, the trains, all of that stuff. Can I before I go to Mko, I want to bring in Umalume Kuzo because this was something that he spoke about yesterday, and I want us to base it off of some of what he said. Malume Kuzo, exactly what we said yesterday. Today there's rumors where people are being moved on.
Exactly, Mr. Utin. But I did say who was coming to this job, right? Angazi ukuthi uyakhumbula na before
naketsaba TikTok or itime.
Before Magesi went on the fairy tale final. Angazi ugobu coach Clint Lassen.
So he's at home apparently.
Yeah, Clint Lassen Dallas totally in the span. It's just that who coach Mangete no coach Vusi, they delayed the process by doing well at some point. But they were not meant to do well. They were meant to come in. Coach Lassen is a flop like a contract flop beside no coach Lassen. But anyway, the issue was that I raised was sparked by Coach Mushin, and then it went to Coach Takama, which was with Salabo Coach Abakdala, Mr. Uti, when there are youngsters who have a very different view on football, who somehow get to dominate when they play against these guys in whatever they do. And these old guys, and respectfully, I say old guys for lack of a better word, the older coaches seem to have run out of ideas, Mr. Uti. Abaluzi, defendi. There's literally like no structure when you watch them, Mr. Uti, besides defending. I made reference to Coach Patela, Coach Baleba Tubatondol, which is something like Abu Little Rulani, if I may. Technocrats. You understand? Why are we not seeing those type of coaches being roped in? Because they've proved themselves that they can work, Mr. Uti. I mean, we saw the fairy tale run at Tondol. We saw the fairy tale running Sundowns under Coach Rulani. Someone is my partner is calling.
Hey, you are one now.
Mr. Uti.
Everything is happening today. Everything is happening. Whatever we're speaking about is something deep. Madam Kusa, I wanted to ask you, but isn't coaching then in SA, man, isn't it a double-edged sword? Because, you know, the old guys are always brought in. We know that there's a roster of coaches that keep rotating. Koliki, you know, the guys that have coached. Then you have the younger coaches who are former players who come in, give about the 6-month contract, give about the 4-month contract. They don't even have time to do well. Is South African football just shooting itself in the foot? Because then the technocrats are outside of the league with no way to get in, you know, unless you have some sort of relationship. Ownership has been pretty much the same ever since. Even if you look at Cape Town City, I mean, it is John Comitis. He was around since Ice Cape Town, for example. It feels like, man, there's a lot of things that just come together in this thing.
No, true, Mr. Uti. And you know what? I won't be too soft on the technocrats. they also have to knock on those doors, Mr. Uti, and make a pathway for themselves. The number one technocrat, Mr. Uzi, we can't even credit him for knocking on doors. I mean, he was born at the door, so he greets people at the door. So he was able to kind of to voice out his ideas, and I'm sure, I'm not taking anything away from him, Mr. Oti. I'm sure there's also a reward to listening to him somehow. You understand, Mr. Oti? If you give Intwana Bani chance, just if you give him the time of day or the day of time, whichever it is, it might also open doors for you specifically. You understand? Unlike the other guys who just come in with just the knowledge and nothing else but the knowledge. You understand, Mr. Oti? I feel like those guys, and I would also include someone else, but who I almost said, have to knock on doors. They have to take the kind of king. They have to grab the bull by the horns, because for me now, Mr. Oti, every time I listen to these guys, every time I watch them, Mr. Oti, they are clearly cut above Machita. I understand, above my time. You can see, Mr. Uti, the ideas are very different. The understanding is very different. I want to well explain. Take for instance, Ulindo. Yes, uthanda ikhatha nacho ne register, but when he explains these things sometimes, because Ulindo is a coach, by the way, you can see, Mr. Wicks, the understanding is very different. And I've had the privilege of reffing some of his games. I think I've told the story 1,000 times now, that I reffed 2 of Lindo's games, and both games never saw finality because he was winning 10-0 on both games. You understand? So I had to end the games. But what I'm saying is that these guys somehow have a different understanding, and I think somehow they have the answers to South African football. They can push us in a different direction. They can push us further with the right with the right guidance, of course, because like I said, Lamatai Malawa, who I might sound like I'm looking down on, they also have they also have some intangible information, the know-how, some things that they could pass on to these younger guys. And yeah, he is a coach, Mr. OT. Not Mr. OT. He is a coach.
Was the youngest coach go SAP at some point.
Yeah, and I met him with development structures. There's no brown envelope with development. They want a best brown envelope.
Yeah, what again? Then my TikTok goes blank, and then I get into trouble. But for time's sake, I'm gonna jump in, and I wanna bring Mko into the conversation. What do you feel about what we've been speaking about here?
Sure, OT.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. I think this is a conversation we should have. I'm happy that we are having this conversation today, because it seems as if we are not serious as South Africans in investing more in the young ones, and that's very true. It has been evident that we keep on getting or recycling the old coaches that we know. But there's one key factor that I want us to look at on OT, and this might be a cause of this happening season after season. I've realized that coaching is not only about knowing football and having those qualifications. It's coaching. There's a part of people management that you need to have as a coach. And I've seen this in successful coaches who have the experience. You've noticed that they are able to, manage people better. For an example, look at the likes of Rulani, how he was able to manage his team, how he was able to, try and understand each and every individual in that team. That is very, very key. Earlier today, I was watching clips of Jose Mourinho when he was still at the English teams. At some point at Tottenham, he had an office and there were cameras. He would call each and every player and discuss personal things with them. I saw a clip with Dele Alli, and then I also saw a clip with Rose. Those discussions were very robust, and I felt like this is necessary. If you can call a player into your dressing room or in your office and be able to go deeper into the issues that the player's going through, that's proper management. That is good management as a footballing coach. And I feel like this is something that we need to encourage, because you are dealing with different personalities here. They come from different backgrounds. Some of them, just to make a silly example, you'd find that he never grew up with a father in the household, but he's talented, this player. So he needs someone to guide him in making better decisions. We've also seen players going into alcohol and destroying their career simply because there was no one to try and guide this human being to make sure that they make better decisions. So that skill, that people management skill in coaching, OT, I'm not gonna lie to you, I've seen in many coaches that if this coach is able to talk to his players and be able to get the best out of them, that really helps a lot. So I wish that we can educate more in terms of that.
But are we giving these guys a chance to show that? Are we giving these guys a chance? I mean, it's documented. Coach Rulani, as brilliant as he is, we know the family he comes from. We know what Coach Pitso did for him, for example. Are we being unfair to write a lot of these coaches off in terms of what you're speaking about? But also, we've never given them a chance to be in those dressing rooms, especially the new ones. And when you look at these old coaches that they brought in, sure, maybe that person can manage a team and look after players. Marama results. I mean, no disrespect to Coach Owen Takama. I don't think you're looking for somebody who's going to burn down the league and go to the top and do all of those things. And when we make these changes, or when the clubs make these changes, it feels like, man, yeah, fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of unfairness that's happening. You're right, because as a person who has ambitions of coaching a bigger team or a big team, you need someone to give you that chance. And I felt like in South Africa, we're not giving these guys a chance, because now coaching in South Africa is based on what you have done before. Which team have you coached before, and what are the achievements in your previous years of being a coach? So I feel like we are more focused on that than giving people opportunities to come and prove themselves. And like I said, you need someone to just give you a chance so that you can prove yourself. And I think we're not doing enough. We are correct in saying we are being unfair in some of the young coaches because we keep on recycling old coaches.
Can I play devil's advocate though, just to make it spicy?
Yeah.
If you look at Coach Mushin Etrigal has worked with John Comitis before. He was part of whatever was happening at Ajax Cape Town. Not a huge part, but he was there. They have the relationship. They have an understanding. Maybe I bring in Mushin because I understand him. And then to the other owners, maybe they go, I'm a new owner here. Or not a new owner, but maybe I'm not a football person. Let me just do what the other guys have been doing. Okay, Owen Takama was coaching Ahly. I'm going to bring him in and coach here. Do you give owners leeway as well on that part?
Yeah, because most of the time, it's their decision to make, and most of them are looking for results. And on the issue of Mushin Etokral, what's funny with Mushin is that I haven't seen Mushin in a very long time up until he beat I think he beat Pirates and Chiefs, if not recently. Yeah. And in my head, I was like, he still got it because he if you have the experience is very key. OT. That's why I'm saying for someone to even get a chance, let's be aware that this person, we are responsible as managers of this team or as owners of this team in making sure that the next batch of coaches, we've given them that experience, or we've assisted them in gaining that experience, because already you find that they have the knowledge. But I don't blame them again, the owners, because if you're looking for results, you tend to go with something that the uncertainty part of it makes you doubt if this person is going to produce any result. But if you bring in Mushin, you almost certain that this guy is going to try and use his experience to improve the performance of the team.
When I'm called, Carry, one of those people that say we want a new graduate with 12 years experience. You sound like
funny part is I work in HR.
Yeah, you are that one. Yeah, it's like one. Own car, Mapem, yeah, Sanbona. But for time's sake, let me bring it up Butlali. Butlali, welcome to the show.
Oti,
Tell me, what do you think about this conversation we're having, man?
Oti, what's funny? I don't think it's especially for South African coaches. I don't think it's actually bringing in old coaches. I think this problem of coaches in South Africa goes back to the structure of the team, the club as an organization, not actually the football club as a football club, but as an institution, actually. Because it goes down to the management and actually the identity of the institution. What is this club known for? What type of football are they known for? OT, can I tell you what good clubs do, OT? Good clubs, OT. Good clubs make acquisitions that are in line with their identity. They make acquisitions in that are fit. Yeah, that's the correct word. They make acquisitions that fit their identity. That's why, OT, you see players signing in Europe, for instance. You see big teams signing players that we don't know, but when they get there, they excel because they went and scouted these players and they brought them here and they performed. And it's the same thing with coaches. I mean, I'm sorry to make an example out of Europe, but let's look at Liverpool and Arne Slot. Not a lot of us. Arne Slot was out of all teams was coaching Feyenoord. They got him from Feyenoord. Feyenoord wasn't making waves. But Liverpool went and they saw, okay, this guy, he knows the culture of Liverpool. He plays like the culture of Liverpool. Let's make this appointment. Because he plays a similar style of football. And Liverpool, they didn't want to change their culture. They still wanted to do, gegenpressing and all those stuff. So they brought Arne Slot, and look at now, they're probably gonna win the league. Let's bring that concept into South Africa. Let's just not make signings on whether they are old, they have experience, they've been coaching for however many years. Let's bring them in because we see what they are doing. Let's not bring in for the name. The name is not important. The years of experience are actually not important to me personally. Let's bring them to according to what are they doing at their current teams, and are they do they fit the identity of the club or the identity that we are currently trying to build? I don't know if you get me, OT.
No, I hear you. I guess what I want to ask is that maybe a general weakness with our football, that research part, whether it's a coach going to a team or a team looking for a coach, or do we lack that research, number one? And is that maybe fueled by money, socioeconomic things? I mean, I know I said I said now that if ESPN calls, but I mean, if Ontakama is sitting at home and Magesi calls him, did he say no out of honor? If there's nothing there, do we also have the economies of the stomach that are playing into this?
OT, I was actually coming to that and saying it is part of it a lack of resources, because some clubs, and it's a disgrace actually that clubs in the top flight of South African football can't afford scouts, can't afford a research team, a footballing research team. They can't afford these people. And that's what's deriving the quality of the league, is that clubs don't actually have a structure. And I also want to talk about the owners, OT. It's a disgrace how these owners are running these clubs. And for OT, for the well-being of your brand and me as well, and you as a overthinking football show, all I'm about to say right now is allegedly. Right?
Yes, please.
Yeah. OT, if Ubabzungu and his brother are actually looking to move on Vusmuzi and Tentriple Arthur, what are they expecting actually? If you are giving this also goes for the owners of Chippa United in moving on, in giving Kwanelo Kopo a contract over a couple of months
that expires in the middle of the season.
Imagine, OT, what is he supposed to do? Chief, How, as a coach, building is a process, coach. Building takes years. How, when you give me a contract of 6 months, what am I supposed to do? What genuinely, what, because I can't implement my system in 6 months. You're not even gonna give me the resources to make those appointments in 6 months. OT. Genuinely, it's a disgrace, and it's disrespectful to the coaches. I think it also comes down to club owners. They should get that respect in them for the coaches. That's why the way you get that trust is getting a research team, getting a scouting network, and researching these players and seeing them for yourself. That does this coach or these players fit the identity of the club? And I think some owners in the PSL should not be owners. I don't know if they're in it for the money or they're in it for the status, but some coaches in the PSL shouldn't be in the owners of PSL clubs simply because they don't have the football brain. If you are an owner of a PSL football team, you should have the brain and also the business side. It's not one or the other. You should have both. If you don't, I will
For time's sake, about to jump in. I just want to send a shout out quickly to Luyolo Dangezela with a 39 Rand super chat on YouTube. Hey guys, super chat. I got trains on the weekend. Yo, that sounds bad. I got train gifts on the weekend, and then my first super chat here. Thank you so much, Luyolo. Thank you so much, Luyolo man. Agent. Almost. Pause.
Almost.
Hey.
Now OT,
I didn't say it.
My train of thought has left me. But anyways, here's the thing. I think, why did you take Abutiku's out? I wanted him on top of me.
Man. You see, you're also doing it now, but I'm not gonna say anything.
As you grow older, OT, I think you, instead of chasing slave queens, you want a baby mama, man, so that you can just settle. And I think that's where we are as club management. And I want to start here that now I support the management in recycling these coaches.
Okay.
The problem with, I don't want to use a certain term because it would look like, and given my history, but my problem with coaches is the younger coaches is they want to be peps before they can have a profile of pep. I can give an example of Coach Rulani, No, Coach Rulani wanted to be Pitso before he could have a profile of Pitso. You are an upcoming coach. Yes, Pitso had the access to do as he pleases with the transfer window because he has built that profile.
He proved himself.
You can't just come in and want to control everything. And I feel like that's where the problem starts with them, is when they come in, they want to be treated as if they are Pitsos and the peps of this world. So my first problem is the egos. These young ones don't keep their egos intact. And it's not everyone who can deal with egos. Now, again, the other problem with the so-called younger coaches is, if you look at them, because they are Pep modeled like, or Rulani modeled like, they demand more and sometimes to produce less. Why should I give you 20 new signings for you to keep me in the top 8 when I can get a machine who will keep me in the top 8 even without necessarily big signings? No, with the coach, I'm not doing that. So again, we look at the demands. So I think if they can keep their demands, and another problem is they want to skip steps. I'm glad someone mentioned Anna Slot.
Yeah,
Anna Slot was a coach of a third division team. Of the third division team, became an assistant to a mid-table team, and then became their team manager and everything. It is important.
Pep coached the B team at Barcelona, I think, for 2 years. Zidane had to coach the Calcio team.
Yeah, you get in there. Look at Vilakazi now. He's in the system. Why? Because he coached the DDC. He became an assistant of Golden Arrows, co-coach, goes to Richards Bay in Amazulu. He'll always be in the system now. Build a profile. You can't wake up one morning and feel like Sundowns will give you that responsibility to coach such a big team. Build a profile. These young coaches want to build profile. Promote a team. When was the last time we saw a young coach promoting a team besides Sean maybe?
But Sean also was, anyway.
And Sean is also within the same thing, you know. No, that's what I'm saying about the coach. So if you're in a take a third division team, prove yourself, take them to first division, promote them to the PSL. That shows credibility. You know, we always cry about go to Botswana, go to Zambia, go to Swaziland, go to build a profile. That's my main thing with them, you know, that they don't want to build profiles. And then also, if you look at the profile of our teams, we like to call them stability teams. Now, when you're bringing in these coaches, they are ambitious, you know, and with ambition, sometimes you get it wrong. Are you willing to risk maybe injecting a lot of money and end up becoming like a rally M, or you'd rather be stable team, man, like Sikukuna, you'll be in and around there, it doesn't matter, you know. So you understand that they would rather settle for stability than risk a change which they're not sure where it will end. So for me, that's why I believe these coaches my last point is this: ego. Do they have, can they manage that ego to be assistant coaches, or do they want to be head coaches? Say what you may about Rulani. Rulani was not ready to coach big team, but because of his ego, he decided to go to Pirates. What if Pitso Mosimane was not there? What if Pitso Mosimane did not stand up for him? You know, where would Coach Rulani be? And how many will get a second chance like Rulani? So sometimes I feel like because it is within Pep's characteristic to be an egonomic, they want to be like that. But sometimes you have to humble yourself and say, I don't mind being a strikers coach or defensive coach just to learn. Look at not Bartlett, but Ben. One thing as a local coach did everything. I just like, you know what, I'm humble enough to be a strikers coach in Man United. Look at Rhodes. Manager, won cups and everything, but he was humble enough to become an assistant coach. Now he's the head coach. Do our coaches have that in them?
But can I ask you, man? But isn't this also, like I said earlier, a double-edged sword? Because for me, these teams don't want to bring in the young coaches because it's a risk, right?
Yes.
Then you bring in the old coaches who haven't given much. Let's be honest, they haven't given much. They're not gonna improve your team like that. But then the kicker for me is that in both instances, you give them 6-month contracts. And then here comes a foreigner who's even worse. I'd say in South Africa. Or as far as we know, I'd say in South Africa, I'd say what? For a 3-year contract, my guy, we're going to sign everyone for you. Chigi, you're back to feeding. Like for example, the Amazulu one. And again, it's allegedly, we don't know what's going to happen. Did we not say on the first day that this is a placeholder? This is a placeholder job.
That
you get what I mean?
Want to bring in another CAF Pro. We even thought it's going to be another CAF Pro. What? No, I think it's TS where he said whoever is there, CAF Pro license is coming.
UEFA Pro, yeah.
UEFA Pro, yeah. You know, so no, I think it's another conversation where it ties back to Pitso in terms of contracts. You know, and like I said, for me, if you've watched a movie called or if you've learned about Ambulance Jesus. Pitso Pitso is forced in that category, looks for trouble and enters trouble,
I remember when Gavin did that for 3 years. Gavin did that.
So I think people are getting that thing. And also, you cannot tell me that you want to go to Chippa United and not expect to be fired. You can't be shocked by being fired by Chippa. So for me, some of these people walk into traps, not traps, knowing exactly what is going to happen.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
So that's my take. Now I'm in support of who's Slim Shady, man. Hey, some of these names.
Slim Shady King for Khoza.
For Khoza, in as much you can say what you want about for Khoza, right? For Khoza, you look at Roman Force. He himself built a profile. Whether it was a profile enough to be an assistant at Sundowns, he had a profile. He went to Botswana. I think it's Botswana, right? Or is it Zambia?
He started in Botswana.
I think
it was Township Rollers.
Yeah. Started in Botswana, came to South Africa. Why aren't our technocrats, why are they not doing that? Let me leave it as such.
No, so let me jump in. Guys, this thing kills me. This thing kills me because there's a statement I hear a lot when people talk about PSL ownership. They say it's like a business. And I dispute that so much because the ones that have been good businessmen and women, business people, if you go look at their companies, they would never run the company the way that they're running some of these teams. Never. There's not a day. Bob Zungu. You think Bob Zungu is changing the COOs and all of that stuff like this? So I'm against that. Because for me, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And this is where South African football becomes so frustrating for me. You know what's going to happen when you sign the 6-month contract. You know. And Shem, to be fair to them, they don't complain. You just complain now outside. But you know what's going to happen when they sign the 6-month contract. You know that it's a placeholder. Because logically, it tells you what? You've got 6 months. Otswara team ena, end of the season, will review. They always say we'll review. So that means you are holding on to this space. They just need someone to fill the void. And it's even worse. Sometimes they even come out and they tell us about young black coaches and we're giving them chances, whatever. 6 months after, you then realize, or maybe they even know by now, that overseas balatile bat. They went and fetched somebody from that side and they're going to give him all the powers that you didn't get. You're not going to get a transfer window. You're not going to get any of that stuff. In fact, sometimes you're going to walk into that dressing room and the players are going to know that you are a placeholder. When we see problems in the league, half the time the problem is that the team has not empowered that coach. Pitso could talk like this at Sundowns because he's empowered. Rulani, for a little bit, he could talk the way he talked because he was empowered. Nabi can talk the way he talks because he's empowered. Jose Rivero can talk the way that he talks. Do you know why? They even fired people for him to get control. And other things happen too. But if you look at the rest of the league, guys, which coach outside of the guys that have been there for a while, Bo Gavin, Bo Steve Barker, and those guys, those are the only teams that have stability. On to the thing of the other coaches. Guys, there's no pipeline anywhere. I think it's the time for us to be honest, guys. There's no pipeline to anywhere. Who you know, how they relate to you, what relationship you have. It's easy for John committees to call Mushin Etrigal. They've got a relationship. In fact, it's easy the other way around. Mushin says he's been watching a lot of South African football over the past years, moved back to South Africa. It's easy for him to call John committees and say, hey, John, you know, it's easy for Marumo Gallants to call 10 Malisel. Hey, 10. Zwagala, you know the team, you know all of that stuff. You may even know your role. Coach 10. Zwagala Zobamba for 6 months. We'll see what happens. A lot of our football is just ruined, honestly, by the depth of relationship. When we ask questions about contracts, it's relationships. I need to keep my relationship with Chiefs. There's some things that I have to say yes or no to. Allegedly. But there's some things. For example, because it's a relationship. Now, when you look at Liverpool and you look at those teams, sometimes the difference is that there is no relationship. They're looking for a specific thing. Okay, we need to replace Klopp. For the good of the business, we can't go and change everything. We need somebody who's going to be able to go and run this team exactly how it needs to run. Zidane's Banban is Banban. No, there's a guy that we found who's coaching in the Netherlands. He plays similar football to Klopp, Mleten. If our teams were serious, I don't even think it's about money. If our teams are serious, there's plenty of people who are coaching in the lower divisions or whatever that could make great analysts and what, and they could be cheaper. But in Kenya, Ispan. Then on to the coaches themselves. I will say this up until, Agent touched on it, I will say this up until, if Pirates does not want you now, they will not want you. If Baruma Callens does not want you now, they will not want you. Go and build something elsewhere. Go elsewhere. Ramon is now national team coach of Botswana. I know some people may look down on that. Look at what he's doing. Fadlu Davids. Was he the one that relegated Maritzburg? Fadlu Davids relegates Maritzburg. Has a relationship with Zimbabwe. Goes to be an assistant coach in Morocco. Now he's a head coach of one of the bigger teams in Africa. Like sometimes, man, like I think at times we are afraid of work. Like we're afraid of okay, build your profile. Somebody said here, build your profile. Somebody said here, do the PR work. Do those little things for yourself. I think we believe in merit too much sometimes. Go and shake hands. Go and meet people. Go and do this. Go and do that for your own good. I am not calling, man. It's TikTok telling me that I'm being inactive. Fadlu you. He was at Pirates. Him and Mandla held Pirates for a while. I don't know what happened, but I can maybe assume that Dr. Ivan, whoever looked at them and said, guys, you're not going to be the coaches. You have to pick. And he left and he did what he's doing now. We see it a lot with the foreign coaches. Middendorp went and coached in Tanzania for 2 weeks and came back. Foshloza jumped from Township Rollers to Marumo Gallants to Amazulu to Horoya to FIFA, then came back to Mamelodi Sundowns. Who knows where he's going to go? But the truth of the matter is that there is no pipeline and it's unfair. The way the PSL works, because the ownerships never really change a lot, if we're being honest, they don't change radically. They're going to use the people that they've used. I wouldn't be surprised if owners call each other and they say, hey, guy, kana kopa number ya smangmang man, ke batla umukenya kam. They cycle. Coach Caetano Tembo, for example, jumps around a lot. There's a lot of those type of things. If you want to be a coach that comes in, sometimes you have to be a former player. Coach Busmuzi Vilakazi, the former player. Coach CM, a former player. Coach Putimo Hafe, former player. Coach September, former player. Even there, I know you, I may have relationships with people. I make the phone call. I get a coach September, started coaching at Supersport, for example. So the new ones are, Shem, guys, hey, you're going to have to do something to get your foot into the door. And sometimes the PSL is not the door. But to cycle it all the way back to Pitso, guys, make the right choices, man. And I know it's tough and it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying you'll know everything. I'm not saying that Tina is perfect. Nati. Must my contract, must pay my contract. Nati, our eyes get wide. And maybe you've signed the wrong thing. I've had a couple of situations myself. It's not easy. But at least try, learn. Don't sign the 6-month contract. We know how it works. Don't sign the 6-month contract. When there's a technical director who's hired above you, what do we know about the patterns of the PSL? When somebody comes in and they say technical director, Shem, your time is gone. Soon you're going to be gone. Soon you're going to be gone. It's the patterns. So yeah, I think sometimes, man, and the representatives now, guys, can you please, Nani, stop looking at your stomachs, man? Yeah, we act as though all of these things come just because it's the only offer. Man, you must go and you market. Why are you sitting for 6 months? What are your agents doing and your managers doing? You're sitting for 6 months, 8 months. You are waiting for the 6-month contract. What are your representatives doing? Who's making phone calls on your behalf? Who's going out and, you get what I mean? Like, guys, I'm sorry, ne? I'm sorry. The other thing that I want to say is I'm sorry. It's not that you're building a new thing. We know the stories from all over the place. We know what they do. We know how they play the game. We saw Abu Nabi saying no to Chiefs, for example. Like, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to come back later. We know this. We know that sometimes you get an offer and you leak something nyana so that you can play them against each other. We know that. We know sometimes you can play a whole bunch of different cards that you can play that can get you in different places that are unfair cards. I don't think Arne Slot, let me bring it back. I don't think Arne Slot just became Liverpool manager by chance. I don't believe Arteta just became Arsenal manager by chance. I don't believe Amorim is currently coaching Manchester United because he was just a bright young boy who was found go Portugal. There was work put behind those things. When players make moves, there's work put behind those things. Go Sporting, there's work put behind those things. You think Penny just woke up one day and he was the strikers coach at Manchester United? There's work. There's calls, there's positioning, there's branding, there's all of these things that you can that you have to put behind you in the real world. So, guys, this is how it is. Hopefully, man, people learn and leverage the things, man. Leverage the things. I still feel like as South Africans and as Africans, we don't know how to leverage people and the power of the fans. We don't know. There's some people who have a lot of things. Some people have a lot of things that if packaged correctly, they could be gone because of public perception. Not you are learning those things. I'm not going to act like I'm perfect. Not you are learning those things in real time, Nat. But we have to, man. Hey, we have to learn. Or else these guys are going to keep getting the jobs. Is it a surprise that Coach Tagama was vendor, man? Maybe that makes him more suitable. Bo coach for khoza. How do you think they end up all over the place with very little towards their names? But anyway, guys, hey, I've gone over. Monday to Thursday, 7 p.m. No, Tabang, I'm just saying. And again, it's not easy. I hope you guys don't think that I'm saying that these things are easy. It's not easy. It's not easy to look at a 6-month contract and say, I'm not going to do it. It's not easy. It's not easy when you get the contract to send it back and say, nah, and like, I want 5,000 rand more. It's not easy. Really, it's not easy. But sometimes you got to look at the long run. What does the long run say? You took this thing, you finished 15th. Hey, now you're in a scramble to try get another job. You took this thing, now they look at you a certain way. Now you've allowed it once, they're going to carry on pushing you on that one. Now you are the coach that we call. We know the coaches. Let me not get personal. We know the coaches when teams are in trouble and they're at the bottom of the log and they're trying to stay up. We know the coaches. And you know what that does sometimes? What that does is that you will be that guy forever. You will stay in that lane. They will put you there and you'll be in that lane forever. Off of some moves that you made. And maybe now they're fine with it. It's cool. Mara, for our football, I don't think it's moving us forward, to be honest with you. There's a lot of fresh blood that should be mentored right now. Think about the league. As my last thing that I want to say. Think about the league. Think about how long Abubab Irvin have been running the league and been holding the league. Rightfully so. But there aren't people who are coming up. Arabat said, you don't know who's going to take over. Look at Bosafa. Still the same people. We don't know who's going to take over. And I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm just saying that we don't know. So anyway, guys, tomorrow, 7 p.m., we'll have the transfer conversation deadline tonight. If you want to watch any of the previous episodes back, including this one, they will be available on full on YouTube. I also drop my own content every single day. I try to drop daily on YouTube, on TikTok and all of that stuff. Please support, guys. Please support. Shout out again to Uluyolo for the super chat there on YouTube, man. Hey, super chat, man. Hey. 39 Rand super chat. Uluyolo, Tangazela. Thank you to Sancho, Malume Kuto, Kutlwano Mwahi, and Usipo. Guys, it's been real. I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, we'll do transfers and the AFCON draw. Pirates have announced as these key. Good night, guys.